you work at the intersection of finance and technology, and they're two traditionally male dominant industries. So what was it like navigating that double whammy earlier on and now, really?
You can use that for your advantage, right? When I was sitting in a large conference room and I looked all around and there I was, only myself. So my name is Maribeth Martorana. I am the CEO of Sapient Advisors. I have worked in enterprise data and AI solutions for capital markets for 30 years. One thing I've learned is you always want to make your manager look good.
Welcome to SheEO with Sophie, the podcast for ambitious women navigating corporate life while creating a career and life that truly lights them up. Whether you're climbing the ladder, pivoting, or redefining what success means to you, know this: you're not alone and you don't have to figure it out by yourself. If you're ready to grow, lead, and thrive, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. I'm Sophie, and this is SheEO with me.
So today I am so excited to have Maribeth on the podcast. So without further ado, I suppose let's just jump in. Let's get going. Maribeth, welcome to the podcast today.
Thank you for having me, Sophie. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Of course. So yeah, excited for this one. Would love to get into the detail, but let's, I suppose, start off with a bit about you and who you are.
Great. My name is Maribeth Martorana. I am the CEO of Sapient Advisors. I have worked in enterprise data and AI solutions for capital markets for 30 years. I've been working with AI and machine learning engineers for the last 20. And I created Sapient with some former colleagues, and we can design, build, and implement AI transformation for financial services, insurance, and commercial real estate. And then we have a whole group of partners that we can bring in. I currently live in Miami, Florida with my husband, and I always tell people I'm a cool stepmom.
Love that. Yes, I bet you are. Now, this is interesting because I feel like we're kind of in the same world. I know I would work in recruitment, but very much like in that financial services side of things. I do a lot around the data space. So it's definitely an industry that I'm familiar with. And it's very much, I mean, you work at the intersection of finance and technology, and they're two traditionally male dominant industries. So what was it like navigating that double whammy, I suppose, earlier on and now, really?
Yeah, it's, I realized I think early on in my career where I did consulting when I worked for FactSet, and most of my clients were men, right? They were either analysts or portfolio managers. So that was interesting. I was always dealing with men as my clients, also male managers, colleagues, and whatnot. At the same time, I also realized, as a woman and you're doing sales, there are probably benefits and things like you can use that for your advantage, right? Ways that you can be with relationships and building them. We're really great with building relationships and keying in on those things. And then I think as my career progressed and I was a woman at the table leading a project or a team or working on an initiative, I especially felt this when I moved over to Moody's Analytics and I was on a number of rather large projects with the rating agency. I mean, I would be sitting in a room and there was like 20 people and I'd be, if not the only woman, the one of only like 2 women in the room. So that was definitely felt when I was sitting in a large conference room and I looked all around and there I was, only myself. So I think one of the things I always leaned on was, really knowing my homework well, having my information in order, having my talking points ready, and being prepared. Sometimes I may have felt that maybe my male colleagues, they don't have to be, but for women, we just kind of have that tax and you have to be ready for that.
Yeah. And do you think it's changed now? Obviously you're co-founder and CEO of a business now, so it's maybe slightly different. But when you are going into these meetings or these rooms, do you feel like it has shifted? Do you feel like there are more women in these rooms now?
There, having more women coming into technology, I would say There have been more women, working up the ranks. It
Yeah.
depends, though, where you see it. How many women CTOs do you really see? How many women CIOs,
Yeah.
right? I think you see more women in like the as chief data officers. I've seen that chief AI or innovation and on product. And you have other functions in technology as well. HR, marketing, sales. I think when you get into the heavy technical side, you still have, it's mainly men. I think it's gotten better. They have like more female colleagues at that level. I find for myself sometimes as a woman, I have to speak up more, project myself more, right? To have like that presence and, with fellow male colleagues at a certain point. And with that, one of my co-founders, Sandy always says, well, it's good to have a male ally, right? And it does help us, our team, it's men and women in the senior team, but it does help to have men and women on the team to actually present us. You would think, hey, a women, founded firm, that's great, but it still has, you have a tax there and you have to, I don't let it get me down, but I'm just like, I'm just going to push through it and keep going.
Yeah.
But you learn how you need to navigate that.
I agree. It is different. I do think it has improved. I think there is a lot more women coming into the technology world now. But it's really, and this is part of the reason for this podcast is how do we get more women into those leadership roles and doing that. What drove you to go into technology and data and AI and all that fun stuff?
I don't think I originally when I went to college, I wouldn't have told you this was what I was going to be doing.
Yeah.
I originally graduated school and I wanted, went to school for finance and I wanted to be like an equity research analyst one day. And I had started as an assistant and I actually was using the platform for FactSet. And I had actually a FactSet consultant say, hey, we're hiring people and would you be interested? And I was like, that's interesting. I like the platform. And it gave me a chance actually to work with customers and really learn the industry or meeting with asset managers and portfolio managers and investment bankers
Yeah.
and working with engineers who were making cool software. And I'm dating myself. This is the late 90s. And I was like, wow, that's kind of neat. I kind of like the technology end of what they're doing. And there was some creativity with it. And I felt I like that better than sitting at a desk in a spreadsheet all day.
Yeah.
So I decided to move my career more in the product and strategy direction, and being a strong SME, right, in fintech, financial products. And I, went to business school and then I went into the product strategy side. So I didn't expect it. It just kind of happened. And then I think I was also very lucky that when I went to build products at FactSet, they were ahead of the curve
Yeah.
using NLP, 20 years ago and machine learning engineers. So I was, again, in the right place, right time, but then I saw there was a trend. I think so. I've been good at also picking up on trends and things coming around and being like, hey, there's an opportunity or I like this. Let me do what I like. Let me check that out. I mean, when you're young, you have a chance to even try that out. I mean, just like I did. So I always tell people, well, why not take a chance when you're young? And if you didn't like it, you could always go back, right?
Yeah.
It's not something that you should explore things.
Yeah, so it was kinda I say you fell into it, but you saw something that you liked, you tried it out, and then you're still here, you're still doing technology, and, obviously now AI is massive, and that's been focused. Now, I just wanna touch on that. You've been doing it for so many years, but, like, for a lot of people that aren't necessarily technical, I mean, even myself, I'm not that technical at all, but, we didn't even realize, like, AI has been around for so long. So what are some of the things that was going on, like, 10, 20 years ago that were around AI that we might not know about?
Sure. I think, one thing I've always been just, I am not I always tell people I'm not technical as
Yeah.
an engineer or a coder. But what I've always done is I've always been good at talking to customers and seeing what's happened, but then also talking to engineers and learning from them And basically, I was really lucky, like I said, years ago when I was building out research products at FactSet and we were running in 1,400 brokers, we were using NLP and unsupervised learning to tag everything. And I just sat with the engineers that were on that whole part of the project, learning from them about what this technology was and what it could do. And then when I saw, which was very interesting at the time, saw that my application front end engineers were in awe what they could do. And they were very smart. I was like, wait, something's going on here. And when I just always kind of knew there was something with it. And then that trend kept evolving, right? There was traditional AI, the NLP, but then about 10 years ago, when they had the big breakthrough in data transformers in AI, which, maybe the public doesn't realize, there were some things that changed that you could do a lot with unstructured data. And I had always worked with structured data, and there's just so much information you can unlock. And again, this was me talking to the engineers. Again, I talked to some data scientists one day who all had PhDs, and they told me about a problem they had, and then they explained things. And I said, you do realize that we're sitting in a credit rating agency and analyst goes through hundreds of pages of documents, and what you're talking about could help them find the information they need. And then I was like, wait, we could unlock all this unstructured knowledge base of information, and these highly paid people could be freed up for other things. So it's really about putting together, like, understanding what the use cases are in the market. And then when you talk to them about the tech, like diving in, being curious, asking those questions, and then connecting the dots, like, wait, you could apply it here. They don't know how to commercialize it, but we do as business people.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays everyone's trying to automate everything. And if we can make someone's job easier, then that's, basically what this does for them, right? Is make someone's job easier, or like you say, free them up to have more time to do other things. And everything's driving the business forward and driving the value. So,
Yeah, and I also get careful of saying automate, because and also I get careful of saying, there is a human centric element to it, right?
okay.
Especially in a regulated industry or market, right? You want to actually, let's say, maybe you're going to go out and help them gather the research and summarize the information, but you're going to give it to them to review, or maybe you're going to give them a draft. You're not going to make it go that you're going to just push it and send it off. And that's also a little bit of a misnomer that goes on now with AI agents. Everyone's talking about that, and there still are going to have to be human in the loop, or I really call it human centric approach, where the human is going to have to come in to play. A perfect example was, I was talking to somebody where they were putting in, I think, an agent with a commercial lender, or a private lender maybe, and they had up to a certain check size that if you were a rep, you could actually, underwrite that without having a sign off higher. So they're going to build the agent the same way, right? That agent only up to, let's say, 500,000 can do that. If not, then it has to go for a management approval. Again, the human centric approach, where they go in and they have a sign off. That doesn't change the process there. That's that approval process.
And I suppose for anyone who isn't technical, like, what is an AI agent?
Yeah. So my simple, like, layman's terms, what I say to people is, just think about, you have a set of tasks in your job, right? Or a set of tasks that need to be done. And you break down those tasks and it can perform those tasks for you. The agent is actually, so there's originally AI to, like, oh, okay, I'm going to have it summarize something. I'm going to have it send the email out, do this, do that. It's going to do that set of tasks. You look at using a set of data, there's a model, and it's going
Yeah.
to do that. And then the output may be an email. The output may be, hey, you need to take a look at underwriting these loans and whether there needs to be approval. It can do, when you really get into true agentic, it can do the whole thing. But I, I'm not a believer of that. We're going to just be free form, letting these agents go and
Yeah.
just do everything. Again, I think they're regulated markets. Really, I think any market you should have the human in there. But I explain to people like there's that process of there's different parts of AI models that could be used by the agent, but it's just that process of the set of tasks, the bundle of
Yeah.
work you have. Think of it that way, and it makes it much simplified that you can like apply it of like how it will work.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of businesses are if they're not already doing it, looking at doing that. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting area. Going back into like your management side of things, and you've had quite an impressive career, but holding these senior roles where it's very much around managing upwards, right, and influencing executives. But what does like effective managing up like really look like? How can we get the most out of what we need from our managers, and also them understanding, what we need from them, what we need from ourselves?
Yeah. One thing I've learned is in managing up, you always want to make your manager look good, right? So
Mm,
having that right there always front and center in mind. I I always say also to communicate and communicate often, right? It may be okay, yes, you might have a one-on-one with your manager, but and there can be other stakeholders in the organization too, especially as you're working on projects and initiatives. So
yeah.
you also have to manage to that audience, right? So you have to know your audience. There might be different forums that you're going to manage up. It may be a one-on-one meeting to update your manager. It may be with a group or let's say a committee. One of the things I learned a lot with that is you need to socialize before you get into the room, and
Mm,
build relationships with the various people involved. I think relationships on a one-on-one is extremely important.
mm,
And then the thing of like saying what you need from your manager is what I always said was like, give me the feedback that I need, right? Or if you see that there's something I could be doing, how to improve that. And then I think my last thing to say is something I learned that's kind of connected with making your manager look good. If
yeah.
there was a problem on something, before I would tell my manager, and I would tell them quickly, I would try to devise or be like, I'm working on a solution. I've looked into XYZ. These are the options we're looking at.
Yeah.
This is who I've contacted. It could be first an email, right? A chat, drop by the office. But I would always try to have a plan in place
Yeah.
or the beginnings of a plan. And it goes miles and it brings down their stress level that you have it handled and you're
Yeah.
taking care of it. That I think is invaluable. Learn that on a trading desk by somebody, and he said to me when I was interviewed, we have problems and we need solutions.
Yeah.
So he was like, don't come to me with a problem unless you have a solution.
Yeah.
And it really stuck with me. For 25 years, the last 25, 30 years, it stuck with me. And I have to actually thank that person for doing that.
Yeah. I think that's a great piece of advice. That's something that I've definitely seen. Anyone who does well in their career or in general in life, is okay, we have a problem, but they always have a solution. And even, teams that I manage, or people that I've managed, if they come to me with a solution, you know, that just, I think, puts them on the forward foot. So I love that piece of advice. I think that's really relevant. I also love when you said, and it's so funny. I actually had a conversation with someone else about this the other day, like a very good friend of mine and he like manages like a massive team of like hundreds of people, and he's a VP, and he just said, "Yeah, you just got to make your manager look good." And I was like, I've never actually thought of that. I know that's weird to say. I just think you kind of forget about that. But the more that you make your manager look good, they will kind of boost you up as well. They'll push you forward to do more because they know that You will make them look good again and again.
Well, yeah, and they realize actually having good people on their team and a high
Mm,
performing team and developing them
yeah,
will make them look good and they will be able
yeah,
to do more, right? So
yeah,
all that comes full circle of them looking good. But if when you learn to make them look good, that is when you're going to supercharge things with them.
yeah. Yeah. I love that. I need to remind myself of that, and I'm going to start putting that into practice. So, let's see how we go. So sticking within this sort of space, what are the mistakes that you see high performing women make when trying to gain that visibility and influence leadership level?
Well, I think, and it's not necessarily they're trying to, or they're thinking about getting the visibility. And I'm not saying, let's say mid career, but I know I've done it myself too, where I thought, oh, I'm just going to, I work hard, right? And my results are going to speak for themselves,
Yeah.
right? And actually, you need to advocate for yourself, right? You need to raise your visibility so people see that. You need to speak to it,
Yeah.
own those results, right? You also have to go as you're trying to work up in your visibility, get your sound bites right? Instead of going super detailed, like, oh, this is my report, you need to be like, this is my high level recommendation. This is how I got to it. But you need to lead with, I made a decision, I made a recommendation, right? It's not just the report or what you did, the project. It's the
Yeah.
outcome and all that. And I like saying, speak about the problem, the action, the result, or
Yeah.
actually the result, the action, and the problem. Uh, and then the other thing is, and which men have done better than us, is sometimes instead of just putting your head down,
Yeah.
you need to be out networking within the organization and also outside the organization and getting your visibility in initiatives, whether there's a women's ERG group or leadership group in your company, or there's a technology group or something else, so that you have that to add to your career.
Yeah.
And also, I think nowadays too, there's the whole LinkedIn and social media branding, and those things will add to you able to do the branding online. So those things come full circle
Yeah.
for your you.
I do find with the branding piece, and I've had so many conversations on this, especially on the podcast. And obviously, I go on a branding journey myself. But I think it can be hard when you're in a corporate business to do the branding piece
Yeah,
because obviously, you have parameters that you have to stick within. So that's something to think about for those that want to go down the branding piece and really get on LinkedIn and get out there, is also connect with like even your marketing team within the corporate business, and they can maybe support or give you ideas, because it is daunting like going out there and putting a post up or even doing comments. It can be quite
yeah.
daunting.
But if you actually get involved in like some organizations outside the
Yeah.
firm and you take on some leadership, you may get some skills. And then you can post about like, hey, I am part of this organization. We put together a panel, or I spoke on something, moderated, or you went to an event, and it can be all connected to the firm too. And you probably have that conversation with marketing, but one of the things I found was from doing some of the things I did outside the organization and just I was very externally focused. I was actually known as the person who had this like network of people, and hey, Maribeth, do you understand this? What do you think about this? This firm. So you become like that, becomes even a brand or knowledge that you have that you can bring in your organization as well to help you. So you become that person.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm really curious, actually. After a successful corporate career, what signaled you to say this is a time that I'm going to transition and build your own business?
Really good question. My husband actually for a while has been suggesting that I do this, but I was not ready. I would say about 5 years ago when he's saying that. And I think what happened was I went from large corporate to a startup, had a good run there. And then I just said to myself, 18 months ago, like looking at the market and what I've done in my career, I said, there is a need for firms to be helped with like people who have done the veterans who've done the work in data and AI and the right way to guide them. And I said, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now. And then I started down that journey. And then it turned out also some former colleagues of mine that I'd worked with 10 years ago, we've kind of all come together. And I was like, there's a real opportunity here to take what I've done and do something and build something out with
Yeah.
Sapient. So I think it was just kind of the timing of the market, also reading the tea leaves of what's been going on, talking to some people with some issues they were having, especially with agentic AI systems, where they were engaging with clients. They couldn't get the data right from the client. They couldn't get the
Yeah.
requirements, all these skill sets that I had and others on the team have. And I said, well, we could do something here. So
Yeah.
I think it's the classic founder sees a problem in the market and decides like, hey, we can do something.
Yeah, and just something that I learned is like sometimes you just have to do it. Like if you see that there's a problem, the hardest part is say putting the plaster, but just going and saying, I'm going to give it a shot and see what happens. And obviously it was the right timing for you. And the nice thing is you work with other people. So it's not just like purely yourself going out to do this.
True, true. You grow with other people, and then, like you said, like just putting in the plaster, you have to just go through to it. I like that. And
Yeah.
sometimes you just have to do something because I live by a motto: you never want regrets in life.
Yeah.
I mean that that's the worst thing, right? What's the thing you're going to remember, right? So
Yeah. I
you can
totally agree.
remember,
I'm with
hey,
you.
took a shot.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. No, I'm here. I'm here with it. And what was, I suppose, the hardest mindset shift moving from corporate leadership into being an entrepreneur?
I would say, even though I always worked in product and like, working in agile and like, iterating, right? And things like that,
Mm,
not having to make things perfect. Like, I mean, you never should make anything perfect because it's the enemy of getting anything done. But
yeah.
I've gone more like, hey, look, if I can put something together and then I can get it out there, test it, just kind of moving more on things even faster, that's where I'm like, okay, I have only so much information. You only always have so much information, but I think now it's just like even less, and you just have to kind of move forward and just keep
Yeah.
moving on, right? And to folk, and you don't have as many people to help you out, so
Yeah.
you have some people, but you gotta like, you know, you don't have all the admin and corporate support, so
Yeah.
you've just got to put it all together. It's been fun learning all these tools like Calendly and
Yeah.
DocuSign, setting all that up, but it's all
Yeah.
good.
Doing everything.
Yeah.
And what advice would you give to someone who, you know, feels almost ready but not quite ready to take the jump?
What I would do, and then a lot of people I've seen doing this is, especially with how things are changing with like the future of work and if are there
Mm,
portfolio careers and whatnot. You could even start on the side. You could even start to even look at the skills you would need to get started.
mm,
And some people actually, I left something, and then I was like, okay, do I want to go back to, do I want another corporate role or whatnot? I decided I didn't want to, so I just took a full leap. But you could actually, while you're working in corporate or whatnot,
yeah.
you could actually start to do something like maybe smaller projects on the side, get your feet wet, and then see how it works out and then go from there. Of course you want to make sure that you have no conflict of interest with your employer or whatnot,
Yeah.
but I think that's a good way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Test it out a little bit beforehand. And you never know. I mean, something could happen. You could land a big client or anything, and you're like, right, that's
Yeah,
it.
life changes, you never know. I mean, you hear about the viral post, everything nowadays. Hey,
Yeah.
you hit up with something, why not?
Yeah, love it. And based on your work within data and AI strategy today, what skills or mindsets do leaders need to stay relevant for like the next decade?
Well, I always say whether it's data, AI, product, or just working in technology in general, you need to be curious. You have to be curious to learn, soak in the knowledge, not even just learning in just your let's say your lane, but maybe even learning in adjacent areas too and applying that. So what I mean by that is now you have product people who are learning how to do some coding, you have
Mm,
engineers who are learning more about product design. But in general, I do think that you have to be curious, quest to learn. It can be a podcast, it can be a book, it can be a video, maybe a little bit every day for 20 minutes. And that compounds. And then
yeah.
actually just getting your hands dirty and just like working with things. I think that is the only way, experientially, learning and seeing what it is.
I agree. There's so much going on at the moment. There's so much changing and evolving. Yeah, so always be curious to see what's out there. And I've heard that before. I think Julia, who was on last season, was very much like learn, 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 learn.
Yes.
So yeah, I completely agree.
That has been my mantra throughout my career and not just now. And that is also going to help give you, and I'm not just saying the technology, but like look at like trends that are happening in the market in your
Yeah,
industry, like trends globally. Look at everything and then you can put it together. And the more you're consuming, you can actually start to put the data points together and make connections like, hey, okay, maybe this is how it's going. And talk to people too. And that's the other thing. I would, we've done so much in this world virtually, but I do think people want to get out and connect. And the
yeah.
best way to get ideas is just getting out there and talking to people.
Completely agree. I get my best ideas from just speaking to someone. Someone will say something, and trust me, it will inspire me. And I'm like, right, I'm going to do this, or I want to look at this. I think it's really important.
Yeah. And they'll give you another way to look at it too. You,
Yes.
you probably were, you probably were marinating on whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then you talk to them and they sparked an idea. And now Sophie is like going to go this way and take
Yeah.
a look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I think that's what's good about, if we look, whether it's a corporate world or, if you've got your own business, you're an entrepreneur, is just being able to bounce ideas off someone, I think is so valuable. That's something that I've really appreciated over the past few years. And, if I look at kind of the best times within my careers, it's because I've had like this support network around me that I'm constantly like, oh, what do you think of this? Or should I try this? Let me go do this. And people will be honest with you, especially if you've got the good people around you. Like they'll be like, Sophie, that's an absolutely ridiculous idea. And I'm like, well,
Well, you know what? Your life is only better by the people you surround yourself with,
yeah,
right? Whether it's in work, personal, or whatnot. So you almost have like your personal advisory board going on there. And a friend of mine that I met, she has a good saying. You need to have a friend garden, and you need to add to your friend garden like the people that you need around you. And sometimes there's new plants you need to bring into your garden, and others you need to trim, and the garden
yeah,
kind of changes where you are. And I think it's like just a really lovely way to put it.
yeah.
And your garden just gets better, and you just get better because like your friend garden is always being cured for and whatnot.
Yeah, I really like that. And that's definitely something that I've thought about over the past few years. I think moving from like the UK to the US, and my friend garden has changed so much for obvious reasons. And now I feel like it's in a really nice place, and it's evolved into something that's beautiful, and it's always swapping and changing. But yeah, that's something that I agree with. And like I say, over the past few years I've seen it. And I just keep adding. My garden, I got a massive work garden, so many friends, but that's great. And sometimes you just need people in these little pockets everywhere. So yeah, I love that piece of
Definitely.
advice.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's also one of the things like my mantra of like where I've worked or chosen to work. I
Mm,
mean, people are very important, right? So you sit on the recruiting side and work with people, but you really need to check out the culture, the people, the team you're working with. You're spending a lot of hours with them, but they are going to help. You're going to become better, and they're going to become better if you're comfortable with that team and those people around you. So it's very
definitely.
important to really take that into effect. I mean, I think I've sometimes looked at opportunities more by the not necessarily the pay, who I will be around with,
Yeah.
in my work day to day.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's important. If I look at my career, the best times in my career were when I've had like a really amazing culture within a business and I've just enjoyed being around everyone and
Mhm.
again you bounce ideas off each other. So yeah, I think culture is very important. And as a recruiter, I'm going to tell you this, it's like one of the number one things that when someone's looking for a job, they say it's because of the culture. They're not enjoying the culture to where they are, which is interesting. So
I believe it.
yeah, yeah, definitely in this day and age. Okay, we have a closing tradition, basically a little bit of a quick fire. So I'm going to rattle through this and yeah, look forward to hearing your answers. So, number one is what's your superpower at work, serious or silly, that people would not know from your resume?
I've always had this mantra, it's better to laugh than cry.
Mm,
And it would actually, in situations where everyone would be stressed out and everything, they'd be like, "Oh, yeah, you're right. It's better to laugh than cry. Like, why are we going to get all upset about this?
yeah.
Calm down, de-stress the team or whomever I'm working with." I'm like, and after a while, they would start to say it too. Like, it's better
Yeah.
to laugh than cry. So that was kind of my hidden superpower there.
I love that. Yeah, so true. No one needs to cry. Oh, you can cry, but yeah, completely agree. Okay, next one. What's the most unserious thing that helped you survive serious corporate life?
For me, I would say my things that would like help me would be uh actually it would be like taking a walk during lunch, right? Taking a walk. I worked a lot in like downtown Manhattan, just taking a walk. Maybe it might be by the water or like through the shops or something, or to go get lunch. Just that action of like going and taking a walk outside and then coming back to the building was like I just would like clear my mind and I just wasn't like feeling work for a little while. That was definitely it definitely midday like game changer for me.
I do the same thing, and I'm in Manhattan as well. And there's also something, especially when the sun is shining in Manhattan and you're walking outdoors, you're like, this is pretty cool. So it
Yeah,
helps every time.
definitely.
Okay, final question. What is one piece of advice you'd give your younger self?
I think I would tell myself it's gonna be okay. You can only control what you can control.
Yeah.
Stop worrying about what you can't control. Right. So
Yeah.
there'd be things sometimes I think I'd worry about that I couldn't control and it was a waste of energy. And now I think as you get older, you learn like, hey, I can't control that. I can only do what I can do about what I can control.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I needed that today because I can be a control freak sometimes. So I need to remind myself.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I've had a lovely conversation and appreciate you taking the time. Yeah, certainly interesting. And I love kind of your story going from the corporate world into being an entrepreneur and having your own business. So thank you again for today.
Thank you so much, Sophie. This has been a pleasure for having me. Thank you so much.